Hello everybody and Happy New Year to you. I hope everybody is safe and well wherever you are in the world, and welcome to the start of the 2021 challenge. I'm actually recording this 2 days before New Year, so I could get a little bit ahead of the game and make sure that I've got it ready for you for the 1st of January. So this is our 52 tag challenge. So I've got myself organised with a little box so that I can keep everything together. Makes it a little bit easier to find everything once we get going. And if you watched the last video, the challenge this year is going to be to do a piece a week or save up a number of videos and maybe do 2 or 3 tags. But we're going to aim to try and get 52 tags done this year. So hopefully you'll be able to join in with us. I've got my tags all ready. They are a 2-inch by a 3-inch main tag, and a few people have asked me where I've got the tags from. I just got these off Amazon. I will put a link in the information, and these are the little rings. They're called, I can't remember what they're called, and I just looked it up as well. They're ones that you use for like ring binding. Just open rings. You can use anything you want. You could use a piece of lace or ribbon or string or anything. You could even make your little tags into a book. It doesn't really matter. But the reason that I thought about doing this one was I'm hoping and praying that 2021 is going to be a little bit more normal, or at least a new normal. So I'm going to be back at work, so I won't have as much time to do as much stitching. But I still want the opportunity to sit and stitch each week, which was the intention last year when I started doing the bobbin, is just to stitch for stitching's pleasure. Loads of people ask me again and again and again, what's it going to be for? The whole point about this project is it's not for anything. It's just because you love stitching, and it's just somewhere to keep it all. And hopefully we've got 52 tags. Hopefully at some point you're going to maybe learn something new. We will revisit some of the pieces that we did on the bobbin or either of the books, so some things might be duplicated, but the idea is just to do a little bit of stitching. So like I said, because this is going to be our first one, I'll just go through what I've got in my box. So I've got my tags. I've got a little bit of fabric that's got a needle and some pins on it. Because we've got white for our first challenge, I've got a few little bits and pieces here. I've got a few extras that I just found. And then I've got some embroidery scissors, a pen, and what I also thought as well, I'd found this when I was searching the other day. I've got a date stamp. So I think I'll probably put the date on the back of my tags when I've done them, because the reason there's a pen is we're going to write something on the back of the tags so that you've got a little bit of a memory or something that happened that week, or just something that, I don't know, it just means that when you look back over it, hopefully we will see a big improvement on the world. So I'm going to start our first tag. So here we go. I have no plan for what I'm doing at all, and I think that's really important with all these challenges. I think that's been the thing that I've really wanted to try and get across to people, is the whole point about this. It's letting things go and just having a go at stitching. It doesn't matter if it goes right, it goes wrong. This is going to be the first one, so I'm assuming I'll probably do something wrong while I'm doing this, but it doesn't matter. I can't even thread the needle. So I'm using a white perlé cotton just as my thread of choice for this one. Are we in? Come on. Loads of people have asked me as well, what size needles do I use? I just have a little needle case that has in it loads of different size needles, because it does depend on the job that you're doing and the thread that you're going to use. So I don't always think, oh, I'll specifically choose that number. It just tends to be sometimes what I've got handy, and also what fits, because if I'm doing something where I want a really small eye, especially if I'm going through a lot of fabrics, you want a smaller eye because it goes through a little bit easier. Yet sometimes if you're using a thicker thread, you want a bigger eye on your needle, but then you have to think about the fabrics that you're going through, because sometimes that can make your life a little bit tricky. So I've got my thread already. So I've got my white little bits and pieces here, and I've got loads of little vintage handkerchiefs, and I just thought they're damaged, they've got holes in them and things, and I just know that people will just throw them away. So I just thought it'd be quite nice to use them in a project. Right, I want one that's got a bit more of a corner. Okay. I quite like that scalloped edge, so I'm going to keep that scalloped edge, and then I need my scissors. Got my small ones, they're a bit big, so I'm just going to cut that. And I'll keep this, probably this handkerchief, in my tin, because if I need a backing fabric, it's a nice thin cotton. So it's just really, really nice to use. So that'll probably just stay in there. And I would imagine over time, my box will get bigger as you start finding more and more bits and pieces in there. So one of the things you'll probably want to do with these videos is watch the video first and then decide what you want to do. Because we're doing this every week, I can't keep giving prompts for the following week, because I do want to just see what happens in that week. That'll just, I suppose, make me decide what we're going to do. So I've got my little backing piece. Now's the fun bit. So it's playing around. So it's quite nice to work with different types of fabric. This is a bit of upholstery fabric, just off the edge of a selvage edge that I've just chopped off that was white, because I thought it was quite nice because it's a different texture. So again, a little bit like, I don't want to cover that up, a little bit like we did with the Sew for the Soul. It's a little bit like auditioning things. I don't want you to worry about if things go over the edge, because as I've done that, I've thought, oh, that'll be quite nice, maybe wrapped around. So you can play around with lots and lots of different things with this. I've got some little bits of tatting. I'd found that as well, which I thought was oh yeah, that's gonna have to go on. I thought that was really pretty. I'll see if I can zoom in just a little bit more, just so that you can see what I'm doing. Hopefully that'll stay in focus. So this is a little bit, I've got a little box of these given. Just move that out of the way. I don't know if they've been taken from the middle of something, or I just was given quite a few of them in a tin, and they are really, really pretty. And you see, this is where you come up with a dilemma, because I quite like that there, but then I'm covering that edge up, but then I don't want to cover that pattern up. So this is when you go through your dilemmas as to what to do and how to play around with things. So try things upside down. That's quite nice that way. And I could maybe just cover a little bit of that up, or that could go there, and that could wrap around. That's quite nice. Quite like that, because if I do that, then I have this trim. But then I could put all the way down. Yeah, so that's going to go all the way down there. Okay, so we're beginning to build things up. I think that's probably sometimes one of the problems as well, is when you choose something that you really like, you end up not wanting to cover things up. So I might go with that on there. And then I'd got my little buttons. I've got those ones. I quite like these because they've got like the little bit of metal inside them. I tend to get all my linen buttons at vintage fairs, but this year I've had to stick mainly to not YouTube, the internet, because obviously we've not had any vintage fairs, unfortunately. I'll split them up, so that's going to go there and there. Yep. So you can see we're not really going to put, because I think you could keep going, you could keep adding more and more and more, but it's going to get a little bit too much. So just gonna, so no buttons are gonna go there. One of the things that I do as well sometimes is when I'm doing something like this is I will get it all pinned together or laid out, and then I will take a photo of it just so then I can remember what it looks like. So I can start adding other little bits to this. So I've got that. I know that's going to fold round, but I don't need to worry about that right at this second. So I've got that, pin that on. Right, so I can move my tag out of the way now. That's it. Now, one of the things that you could do if you wanted to, if you don't want to work on things like this, you could put a piece of fabric in a hoop, place this on and draw around the edge and then make your piece and then stitch it out. But I quite like the idea of it being really, really tactile. So then it's a case of getting your thread. I might take that off just for a sec. So I'm going to start stitching. Now this is really, really delicate, so I just want to take my time, and all I'm going to do with this is do what's called couching, which is where you lay something on the surface and then you do a little thread. So I've gone from one side to the other. Okay, so all I'm doing is I've laid this down. Move that down again. There we go. I'm never quite sure where this is going to focus. Okay, so let's turn the light down a bit. There we go. So all I'm doing is I've laid my lace on. I'm bringing my needle up at one side of the bit of lace, and then you go down the other side and it just traps it. It's a tiny little stab stitch, and all you need to do is maybe every centimetre, half centimetre. And what that's going to do is it's going to hold everything in place. Now, because it's going over my next bit of fabric, I can sort of kill two birds with one stone and trap them both down together. Okay. Take a pin out, just hold it with my thumb. There we go. It'll be a bit easier to stitch now because I'm going through something a little bit more substantial. If your bit of fabric is really flimsy, you could always pop another bit of fabric behind, but I didn't want to do that with this because it's got the holes in the fabric. I quite liked the idea of seeing the colour of the tag through the back. Lay that down. So it'd be quite nice just to start off with white. So there's no pressure about colour. You're really playing with texture. So looking for different types, different weights of fabric, different types of fabric. Can be quite nice sometimes to remove that colour choice. So hopefully if you sat doing this, you've got yourself a cuppa. You've got your box of bits. And you're just taking, I don't know, 10-15 minutes out your day. Obviously you don't have to do this all in one go. You can do it over the week and just have it in your box, maybe on next to the sofa where you sat. When the kids were little, I used to take my boxes with me when I used to go and sit and watch them swimming or doing gymnastics or whatever it is they decided they were doing, the latest hobby. The best one was when they went rock climbing at our local rock climbing gym, because I had to go and sit in the pub next door. Oh, It was a nightmare. Right, so we've couched that down. Okay, so that's all nicely attached. So then I'm going to attach my circle. So just finish this off on the back. Just catch your needle through. And then just go through that little loop a couple of times. Just get your knot. We're going to explore loads of different stitches as well during the year, because I know a few people have asked me about, they want to learn some different techniques. So hopefully there'll be something at some point, maybe where you learn something new. I'm hoping to learn something new while I'm doing this. When it comes to stitching things like this down, it's up to you how you want to do it. I tend to start in the middle. It's a little bit like couching, so I don't really want the thread to show. So I'm just going to do some tiny little stab stitch. So stab stitch is basically where you're going up and down practically on the same spot. And the idea is hopefully you won't be able to see, or you'll hardly be able to see unless you know they're there, the stitches. So it's going all the way around. So some of these weeks the task might be something that's quite quick. Other weeks it'll be something that's maybe takes a little bit longer, but you have to remember these are your 52 tags. So if I end up doing a week where you think, oh, do you know what, I don't want to do that, think of something different to do. That's perfectly fine. I'm not setting rules that you have to follow 100%, but like I always say, if you want to, then that's fine. So I want to just stitch down the edge of my circle now. So again, I'm just going to choose a couple of these little edges, and again just do a little stitch, oops, little stitch just to tag it down. You want to make sure that you don't pull it too tight, because it'll distort your piece of fabric. You don't need that many. You could even do it where you just stitch the middle down and then leave the rest to stick up. I just want to make sure everything's just tacked down for this very first one, because it's going to be the first one. We probably will do a tag that might be the front cover as such at some point. But for now, this one's going to be our first piece. Okay. So I thought with this one I'd just video the whole thing. Some weeks I will do the whole video. I'm hoping to maybe get them done on and posted on a Friday, so that people have got the weekend then to have a little bit of a play. And Friday is my day off work, so I thought actually for me it might be quite nice to start my working world, as in my handmade working world, with a little bit of stitching, just to start the morning off. But it also, that could be quite dangerous, because if I start doing it and I really enjoy it, I might end up doing it all day and then not actually getting the jobs done that I need to get done. Okay, there we go. So we've got all the bits stitched down. Now you can play around with all sorts of different bits. So I'm going to get my buttons stitched on, just so then I know that I've got all the main bits, and then I can see the space that I've got left, and then you can decide whether or not you actually want to do anything else. But again, depending on how much time you've got, can depend on how long you want to spend on a piece. Okay. So I hope everybody had a nice, or as best I can, Christmas and New Year. We were all over here. We just kept ourselves in our little family bubble, which was quite nice actually, just spending time with the kids. Played lots of games, went for walks. Right, so I just need to finish that one off on the back. Let's grab a little bit of fabric. There we go. Create your loop. Put your needle through a couple of times. Make a knot. The beauty about doing these tiny bits as well is once you've got your needle threaded, it's very rare that you actually need to do another threading of your needle, because usually you've got enough to last. So because I have those two going vertical, I think I might have that one going horizontal. There we go. Do it 2 or 3 times just to secure it in place. There we go. Right. So fastening off on the back. There we go. Right. The pins that I'd got in there were a bit too heavy for that bit of fabric, so I'll put myself some lighter weight ones in. There we go. Right. So come back to our tag. So got our little piece on there. That's going to wrap round, and I might even wrap that round as well so it goes onto the back, so it just adds a little bit. Okay, I could do more to this if I wanted to, so I could do loads of stitching down here and things like that, but I think because this is my first one, I am just going to keep it that simple. Okay, so now we come to attaching it onto the back of our tag. So there's 2 ways that we're going to do this. The first one is we're going to do a little bit of glue just to hold it in place. I'm busy saying that now, and I've got a feeling that somebody in my family has come into my room and decided that it's an art shop. They always do this, which always drives me up the wall, that they think that this is sort of like the free art shop, that you come in here and you just help yourself to stuff. Oops. And then when I come to need something, I can never ever find it, which is a little bit annoying because I didn't even think that I had to check. Oh, I have got one. Here we go. Right, so I'm just going to use a glue stick. I'm not going to glue the whole thing down. All I'm going to do is just pop a little bit of liner glue just in the middle of the piece, just to hold it in place. And then if you are going to do a little bit of an overlap, just pop a little bit of glue on there just to hold that in place. I'm going to do the same with that. A little bit of glue on there. Just going to hold everything just in place. So, okay. Then you're going to need to thread up your needle again. I'm going to keep using the same white because we're actually going to attach it with a thread. And there is a reason for this. Now, in my head, this is going to work. I haven't trialed it, so we shall see what happens. So, make yourself a little knot in the end of your fabric. Really little one. Okay. What you're going to do is bring your fabric, bring the needle up in the corner of your piece of fabric, because this is then going to hide. Oh, there you go. Hide the knot. So the knot's going to go behind there. So I've just put my little knot there. Okay. Right. We're going to go through to the back of our tag, and that's going to hold that down. Get halfway. So if you lay that down so that you've got it straight, approximately halfway, we're going to come up. So we created a line on the back. Go back down again. There we go. That's going to catch that down. Come to the bottom corner. So again, just check it straight. Approximately there. Just make sure it's going to hit your fabric. There we go. So I'm coming up in the corner. So I've created like a little line on the back. Go down next to where you've just done. Across the bottom. Back up. And then back down. Up. Again, just lay it down so it's in a straight line. Approximately from the other side. Go back up. Back down. Up to the top corner. We're going to do this with every one of the tags so that we're creating sort of like a frame on the back. And it'll probably be in different colours because it'll depend on what colours you've decided you're using for the front of your tag. But you might want to keep them all the same because we're just doing these tiny stitches on the front. It shouldn't show. Right, then we need to go back through the hole that we've done there at the top. Back up through there. Go back down. So I'm going, it's like a fraction of a millimetre just on from the edge. Then to finish it off, all we're going to do is take your needle, go underneath those two bits of thread, go round that to make a loop, and then where your loop is, double it over, and you're just going to make a little knot in that top corner and trim. Okay, so this is my first tag, it's all attached. So little things that I wanted to do then to add on to this is one of them is the date. So I've got my little date stamp. Always a really good idea with stuff like this is to test it first. I've learnt this. So I've got it upside down. Now it's whether up to you whether or not you want it on the front of your tag or the backs. I think I'm probably going to put mine on the back of the tag. Put it at the top. All I've done is I've just moved it off onto the edge of the table just so that I can press that down. So I've got my little date stamp. You don't have to do that. You could just write it. It's just that I found that when I was clearing out and I thought, ooh, date stamp. And then with your pen, the idea then is you can write something on here just for the start of the year. So I'm just going to put start of the hashtag 52 tag challenge. hopefully 2021 will be a good year for everyone. Okay, so there's the back of my tag. So that's the idea. There's our first one. Ta-da-da-da-da-da-da. I'll put a couple of photos on this like I normally do with my videos. So then I've got my title one. Over. And there we have tag number 1. So hopefully you'll have a go, join in again, tag it on Instagram, send me pictures, anything at all. I think the more that we share these projects and the work that everybody's doing, the more everybody still feels a little bit connected, because I know we're all in very, very different situations at the moment. So can't wait to see everybody's little white tags, and I will see you next week.